The Boston Celtics are staring down a financial guillotine, and J.R. Holiday might be the head that rolls. With the NBA's new second apron tax looming like a death sentence for super teams, Boston is being forced into an impossible corner. Keep its championship-caliber core intact, or avoid becoming a luxury tax prisoner for the next half-decade. And when the knife comes down, it usually falls on the veterans with big contracts, even if they're still producing at a high level. Enter Jrue Holiday. Yes, he's still an elite two-way guard. Yes, he just signed an extension, but none of that matters now. What matters is money and survival. The Celtics front office is reportedly eyeing a way out of the second tax. Band and shipping Holiday might be their only lifeline. It's a ruthless calculus, part asset management, part financial triage. The problem? This won't be a repeat of 2020 or 2023. Holiday's value has dropped, not because he can't play, but because the league has changed. Teams are no longer overpaying for veteran stability. They want upside, youth, flexibility. And most contenders already have their backcourts locked in. That narrows the field dramatically. The Mavericks and Clippers are logical suitors, but they're navigating their own minefields. Kyrie Irving and James Harden, two unpredictable superstars with player options, hold the keys to how much cap room those franchises will have. Until their futures are resolved, Holiday is in limbo. Ironically, the Celtics' offseason might be hijacked by the very players they would never dream of acquiring. Irving and Harden aren't coming to Boston, but they could determine whether Holiday stays or whether Boston is forced into a hasty value-losing trade just to stay under the tax threshold. This isn't just a financial move, it's a gut punch to the soul of a team built on defensive identity and veteran leadership. If Holiday is sacrificed, the Celtics risk entering the 2025-26 season with less experience, less balance, and maybe, just maybe, a smaller margin for Banner 19. In other words, Jrue Holiday's fate might say less about him and more about how desperate Boston really is. A subtle trade on Tuesday might have just thrown a wrench into Boston's draft night strategy, and it didn't even involve the Celtics. While Boston prepares for a volatile offseason, with their one stable core now looking more fragile than ever, every asset suddenly carries weight, especially their first-round pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Why? Because this year, it's not about adding depth, it's about survival. Last year's 30th pick, Baylor Shireman, spent more time lighting it up in Maine than suiting up at TD Garden. But this year's 28th pick could be a different story. If the Celtics follow through with a rumored roster overhaul fueled by luxury tax concerns, aging frontcourt options, and Tatum's devastating Achilles injury, then this draft pick might go from development project to plug-and-play necessity. And then came the CURVEBALL. According to ESPN's Shams Charania, the Indiana Pacers traded the 23rd overall pick and the rights to Mojave King to the New Orleans Pelicans in exchange for a 2026 first-rounder originally owned by New Orleans. On paper, it looks minor, but it just shifted a key piece on the board, 5 slots ahead of Boston and into the hands of a Pelicans franchise desperate to course-correct after a disastrous 2024-25 season, marred by dysfunction and injuries. Why this matters? The Pelicans, unlike Indiana, are in chaos. Zion Williamson's long-term future is murky. Brandon Ingram may be trade bait, and David Griffin's front office is under pressure to deliver now. That makes them unpredictable and potentially dangerous on draft night. Whatever New Orleans does at 23, it could snatch a player Boston had circled. ESPN's latest mock draft links the Celtics to Drake Powell, a high-Q wing out of UNC, with defensive upside and a motor built for playoff basketball. But if he's gone, Boston may have to pivot. There's also the question of direction. Do the Celtics grab a forward to patch the Tatum-sized hole, or go after rim protection and youth, given Al Horford's likely departure and the persistent injury fog surrounding Kristaps Porzingis? And what happens if they don't get it right? This isn't just another late first-round pick. It could be the bridge between contending and collapsing. Boston's bench was exposed during the postseason, and their margin for error is thinner than it's been in years. One more injury, one more wrong bet, and the championship window slams shut. Bottom line, the Celtics are drafting for impact. Is Boston about to commit the unthinkable? A Jayson Tatum trade that could rock the NBA to its current? That's the kind of idea that would have been laughed out of any front office a decade ago. The sort of conversation that never leaves the draft room whiteboard. But in the modern NBA, where dynasties crumble fast and loyalty is a myth, even Jayson Tatum isn't untouchable anymore. He's the face of the franchise, the heir to Bird, Russell, and Hondo, a perennial MVP candidate, Olympic gold medalist, and the embodiment of the Celtics' new golden era. In Boston, Tatum isn't just a player, he's a symbol of hope, of redemption, of the future. And yet, what if trading him is the only path forward? Boston is at a dangerous crossroads. Tatum is out for the year with a torn Achilles, the cruelest injury in basketball. Not only does it cast a shadow over the team's future, but it slams shut their championship window right now. And worse, it triggers a financial avalanche. Boston is already brushing against the dreaded second apron of the luxury tax. With Tatum sidelined and no way to improve the roster significantly, how do you justify paying $500 million for a team that can't win? The Celtics built a title roster, but they didn't build a time machine. You can't pause a season, preserve chemistry, and return stronger a year later. Role players regress, contracts expire, rivals evolve. Oklahoma City is no longer a fun young team. They're a juggernaut. Denver is still dangerous. Minnesota is growing teeth. Time is your enemy. And here's the brutal truth. You don't get many shots at a title in the NBA. Window slams shut. Ask Chris Paul. Ask James Harden. Ask Damian Lillard. So here's the nuclear option. The one move that no fan wants to entertain and no executive can ignore. Tatum for GIANNIS for GIANNIS. That Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks are imploding behind the scenes. Their own championship experiment, Lillard Middleton, Lopez, is decaying. In real time, Lillard is hurt. Giannis is entering his 30s. Their cap sheet is wrecked. They have zero flexibility and fewer picks than a G-League expansion draft. Milwaukee's only path back to relevance. Blow it up, but not just for picks and potential. They need a headliner, someone to keep the lights on, someone younger, marketable, already elite. Enter Tatum. He's 26, already proven, marketable, a superstar with a modern skill set. Slide him next to a recovering Lillard in 2026, and suddenly the Bucks are younger, more balanced, and flexible enough to rebuild around a new identity. Meanwhile, Boston gets a freak of nature, a 2x MVP, a defensive anchor, a player built for playoff warfare. No ego, no baggage, just domination. In a league obsessed with spacing, Giannis breaks geometry, and most importantly, he gives Boston a shot to win it all next year. No waiting, no limping through Tatum's rehab, praying for a 2026 miracle, no luxury tax handcuffs, just Giannis in green, surrounded by shooters, defenders, veterans, and winners. The Celtics become instantly the favorites in the East. They have the antidote to OKC's ascension, size to punish Chet Holmgren, speed to outrun Jokic, the defensive IQ to crush any playoff scheme. Don't let nostalgia cloud your judgment. The idea of trading Tatum